All right, we're going to go ahead and get started and call to order the Finance Auditing Committee meeting of July 27th, 2023 to order. And can we have a roll call, please?
Thank you. Starting with Director Cochran, who's absent. Director Giudice.
Here.
Director Grossbull.
Yes, here.
Director Hernandez. Director Rodoni.
Here.
Vice Chair Parr. Chair Abbott.
Here.
And President Terrio.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum. You're not a committee of whole, but we also have Director Garbarino, Director Master. And something funny. Also in the room, General Manager Dennis Mulligan.
Present.
Amy Fry is sitting in. Oh, there you go, Amy. Thank you for Joe Wire. And John Eberly. Present. Bar Furbish. Kim Manolius. Thank you. Dave Rivera.
Good morning, President.
Mona Babauta is absent. Mike Hoffman. Thank you. Kelly Hopper. All right. That confirms everyone in the room.
Great. Thank you all very much. Appreciate that. First item for us is item number 3, which is ratification of previous actions by the Auditor Controller. It's 3A through 3D. It's pages 5 to 24. The PFM report starts on page 9. And Amy, is there anything on this one?
So as you may know, Wale is not able to join us today, so happy to take back any questions if you have them. And as usual, PFM helps the district keep our portfolio in secure and quality investments.
Right.
Yeah.
Any of my colleagues have any questions on any of those items? Is there anyone from the public on this particular item?
Justine, we have no speakers in the room. Do you have any speakers on your public line?
We have no speakers on the public line for this item.
Thank you. We have no speakers.
So with that, I will look for a motion to ratify the previous actions by the Auditor Controller.
So moved. Second, Rodoni.
Great. We have a motion and a second. If we could have we need a roll call?
We can do a roll call of the committee.
Okay.
Since it is just the committee, I will roll call the committee members only. So Director Cochran's absent. Director Giudice.
Yes.
Director Grossbull.
Yes.
Director Hernandez. Aye. Director Rodoni.
Yes.
Vice Chair Parr.
Yes.
Chair Abbott.
Aye.
And President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes with 7 ayes.
Great. Moving on then to item 5A, which is to authorize actions related to the grant programs. Amy is going to give us some of the details.
Yes, thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Director Abbott. So if you would turn to page 25 of your packet, item 5A will authorize the general manager to claim about $31 million in 3 sources of funds: the Transportation Development Act, or TDA funds, State Transit Assistance, or STA funds, and Regional Measure 2, or RM2 funds, and also to file any revisions as necessary should the funding amounts change during the year. The good news here is that revenues have exceeded past years, and we are looking at about 107% of FY20 levels for these funds. And other good news, which is not in this item, it was late breaking news just last week, that we received about $2 million in additional RM3 funds, Regional Measure 3 funds, for our bus service across the San Rafael Bridge. So that is not reflected here. It's not reflected in your financial reports for this month, but the district is working to secure those funds. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Good news on that. Look to my colleagues. Any questions on Director Maston?
Yeah. What's the history that precludes us from receiving STA funds from Sonoma County? I've asked Dennis this before, which is why he's not.
I'll gladly speak to this item. There's some longstanding arrangements with the allocation of funds in each county in the Bay Area. And so MTC is who the money flows to. And we have agreements with us, MTC and Sonoma County, that deals with STA funds, TDA funds, and also their what's called UZA funds, or Federal Urbanized Formula money. And so the deal that was brokered many, many years ago is that the Bridge District will receive 25% of the TDA funds, no STA, and we will not make a claim for the UZA money. And it's something that periodically people wonder and question about. Amy's staff recently did some analysis. So if you blew up the deal, you get about the same amount of total money if it happened, and there might be some operational impacts to the local operators there. So we're okay with the deal, but if folks want to reopen it, we're more than willing to sit down to reopen all the funding pots. Because sometimes people say, why do you get 25% of TDA? And our answer is because we get no STA, no UZA money. And if you want to talk about money in Sonoma County, you talk about all of it, not just the one pot where we get a little. But those are spelled out in MTC resolutions that we have recently reviewed.
We have.
Thank you for that question, Director.
And I can tell you that, and Dennis will also let you know, we're talking about like BART feeder lines, another huge, every year, a big topic where money is allocated to different bus lines through BART allocations as well. And I know that there's a long history of it in the UZAs. Bay Area has done very well by having more UZAs than average, because we've had Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, and actually good lobbyists in DC to create more UZAs, which draws down some additional money. So we're hitting above our weight. And I think some of those deals were kind of done at that time. So there's a lot more in the background to it. I'm very happy to always have those discussions and figure out the best path forward. At the end of the day, the resources are always could use more. So thank you for that. Look to my colleagues. Any other questions? Is there anyone from the public on this one?
We have no speakers on this item. And Justine, do you have any speakers on your item?
We do have someone that has joined after the meeting starts. If you don't mind, if I can just ask the room, that would be great.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone that's joined that would like to speak on this item? Please use ** to unmute yourself and let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. Thank you.
All right, so we have no speakers on this item in the public line as well. Okay.
Great. Bring it back to the committee and look for a motion to approve to accept this some $31 million. Great. And a second by?
Second.
Thank you. And a vote?
Thank you. Starting with Director Cochran, item 5A is absent. Director Giudice?
Yes.
Director Grosboll?
Aye.
Director Hernandez? Aye. Director Rodoni?
Aye.
Vice Chair Parr? Chair Rabbit?
Aye.
And President Tirio?
Yes.
Thank you. You have 7 ayes, and that passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6, status report on the fiscal year 22-23 budget. That's on pages 27 to 36. Amy?
Great, thank you. And please turn to page 29, which is the tracking report that you've seen over the year. This is the final tracking report for our budget for this year. The right-hand column shows a cumulative reduction in the district's deficit, and 3 lines are added here that are different from last month. Line 3, estimated total revenue carryover, which is about $38 million. 5, the other operating revenues of $12 million. And then line 6, the changes in operating expenses for $25.5 million. And just to note, big picture, we balanced our budget. We started out with a $75 million deficit, and through spending federal relief funds, and also through the fact that revenues were higher and expenses were lower than budgeted, we have a balanced budget for this year. So happy to take any questions on this. And I have the next few items. So if you want to ask me to pause when you have questions, I can keep going, whatever you prefer.
I think I know we have a public comment card on this, so I'll look to my colleagues. Any questions on the? No, we'll go to. I know David Philpal wants to speak.
Good morning, David Pilpel. And by the way, that was exactly what I remembered about the Sonoma arrangements, going way back. So
1996.
Yes, no, there's a lot of history there on the coordinated claim issue. So on the budget, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to add to my prior comments on the bus division, particularly related to the strategic financial plan. So over the past 50 years, including the past 20, the district has had a heavy peak service on the bus side, particularly the old 4, 24, 54, and 74, plus the other commutes, requiring more than 200 peak vehicles, but only 40 to 50 during the base, which is like 5 p.m. versus noon, resulting in what the industry calls a peak to base ratio of between 4 and 5 to 1, which is incredibly high, very commute oriented. That's required 3 bus divisions north of the bridge, between 200 and 250 buses at any given time over the years. Long spread times for operators, relatively high average run pay, and those sort of operating and scheduling characteristics. If the commute demand is not likely coming back in the way that it existed previously in a serious way anytime soon, scheduling will be different going forward. It has been different the last 3 years, but I suspect that it will continue to be roughly in that pattern, which changes some of those expectations for employees, but also for district operations, likely requiring many fewer vehicles, maybe fewer facilities, all of which is, in my opinion, very significant with very real implications going forward. I hope that as you go through the strategic financial plan and other planning and finance exercises, that staff will bring forward a range of planning scenarios, both in terms of operations and the financial implications for discussion, both at your advisory committee and here in whatever form and place in the future, noting the possible effects and trade-offs. And I'm happy to comment further on that. I hope that helps a little bit, color and flavor.
Thank you, David. Appreciate
Thanks very
that. Much. Bringing it back, this is not an action item, so this is just informational, but I'll look one last chance for any comments on this one. No. Moving on then to item number 7, which is the monthly review of Golden Gate Bridge traffic tolls, bus and ferry transit patronage and fares. Amy?
Yes, so the next item starts on page 37. Would you turn to page 39, where you'll see a table that represents data for bridge, bus, and ferry over 12 months and shows the traffic and ridership data along with the revenue data, both actual versus actual year over year compared to last year, as well as actual over budget for this year. So the main takeaway here for this table is all of our business units are doing much better than last year, and bridge revenues are up about 10%. We're seeing the same seasonal patterns that we would normally expect, where ridership is down in the winter months and comes back up in the summer months. If you would now turn to pages 45 and 46 that show trends over time, what you'll see in these line graphs, and the purple line is this year's ridership and revenues, the yellow line is last year. For bus and for ferry, both of our transit operations are tracking a little above last year's line, ferry a little more than bus, but we still have significant gaps between what we're showing for this year's numbers versus pre-pandemic. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just to highlight that while we're still well below pre-pandemic levels, and that's evidenced by the state of downtown San Francisco, recreational and tourism travel is back. Last Saturday, our ferry system carried 6,180 passengers on a Saturday. So clearly, people are out and about. A week earlier, there were some dead concerts in the city. We sold out the ferry boat, 600 passengers to each one of those. So people are moving out and about. What we're not seeing is a rapid return of office workers, But it's important to note that year over year, our bus ridership was up 26%. So while it still has a long ways to go, and our ferry ridership was up 67%. So we are trending in a positive direction. And for long-term decisions, the question is, are you going to bet against downtown San Francisco? Because that's really the question. And I think, it's important to be cautious so that if the board were to contemplate any long-term decisions based on today's reality, they don't tie a future board's hands, 5 years from now when things look different, or 10 years from now. The Bay Area, we're told, is supposed to add 1 million people, 1 million jobs over the coming years. If that happens, it's important that we have assets, we have resources, and we have things that give us tools to hire employees so we can meet the demand of our customers. But as we speak today, we are meeting the demand of our customers. We've added back service incrementally. We don't have a big commute, and that's okay. But where we have commuters, we are offering them rides. And where we don't have commuters, we're parking that bus. We don't have long days for bus operators, but we are meeting the needs. It's important to remember that our transit system exists to take traffic off the bridge to reduce congestion, and we're doing that today. And so we are meeting our objective. So it's important to look at that objective as opposed to, well, what was the number in 2019? And so the organization is meeting its objectives. It is managing congestion in the corridor, but it's doing it in a fiscally prudent fashion as we see continued year-over-year growth. And that continued year-over-year growth is an important thing to, be cognizant of so that we don't beat ourselves up too much. And I just thought I'd add that because the tables are great. It's a snapshot at the end of the year, and 26% growth in bus is fabulous, and 2/3 growth in ferries even better. Where the growth is may not be where people expected. A lot of that's recreational or regional service, but it's important to note it, to pause, and to recognize it.
Appreciate that very much. I think that the revenue chart also is a good one too, because it shows us obviously due to increased charges, being relatively healthy at the end of the day in this changing environment that we're in. Plus, the ferries now do have a really nice patchouli oil smell, which is just lovely after the concerts, which I attended, so I can let you know. So thank you, Amy, for that. Why don't we roll through into the monthly review of financial statements for the 12 months ending on June 23rd.
Okay, great. So now we're on page 47 of your packet. And the table here of revenues and expenses shows the whole year. And I'm going to direct your attention to the right-hand column, the current year actuals, which are unaudited numbers for the year. So the first bolded subtotal line of district operating revenues, we ended the year at $209 million. That's well above what we budgeted. Tolls, fares, and grants are the reason why. The next subtotal line, operating expenses, we ended the year at about $232 million. And that's significantly less than what we budgeted, but still more than last year. So we added some service this year. We also provided staff with an increase in their salary and benefits. So those are the main reasons why our numbers are higher this year. And then the third subtotal is the operating revenues over expenses. That's our deficit. That's our shortfall. We ended the year at about 23 million. We started the year again budgeted at 75 million. And it's notable that last year's shortfall was about 41 million. So we're not quite half, but getting there. So our shortfall numbers are decreasing. And then after this table, we have line item details that follow, and happy to answer any questions.
Great. Anyone have any questions for Amy?
If I may, the shortfall of the 24 million includes the lump sum payment to the ATU pension trust. So that was reflected in the numbers. So that, arguably made the number even look bigger. It was a one-time lump sum payment.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Anyone from the public on this particular item? No.
We have no speakers in the room. Justine, do you have any speakers? We'll go back to number 7 and 8A.
Hi, I don't believe we have any speakers. If you would like me to check back in with the room, I'm happy to do that.
If there's no new speakers, that's added to the line, I guess.
Yes. No one new has come on or unmuted. That is correct.
Okay, we'll give them another chance at the end at public comment. How's that?
Perfect.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
So we'll move on then to 8B, monthly review of the financial statements. Amy?
Okay, we're now on page 57, and this is notable for capital programs. I don't know that we've ever hit the mark in terms of spending what we budgeted for capital projects. Overall, we spent about 100%. It's not quite to the dollar. It's off by about 200,000, but for a $54 million budget, that's pretty darn good. That tells us that we are delivering projects, and we are also spending our grant funds. So that those two things are both very good for the district. And again, happy to answer any questions.
Not seeing any public comment. We thank you, Amy, for your work. And we'll move on then to item number 9, the review of the district's 22-23 fourth quarterly report of judgments or settled claims. Kim.
Thanks, Chair Rabbit. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anyone have one? Anything? Anyone from the public have any comments on this particular item?
We have no comments on this particular item.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. Item 10, review of the auditor controller's 22-23 fourth quarterly report on authorized budget adjustments. Amy?
Okay, we are now on page 65. And again, this provides the fourth quarterly report on budget adjustments and transfers that are under the general manager's authority. There were no operating budget transfers this year. For capital, there were a few adjustments, nothing that made but a fractional difference for the capital budget. And the details are in the reports that followed the summary. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Director Maston?
Yeah. So I'm glad Joe's not here because he'd probably roll his eyes when I ask this question and say, how long have you been on this board? So I've noticed this before. And could you explain the last column, the current year budget, in the adjustments report? Because it's unclear to me what those numbers mean, especially since most of the fields have no numbers at all. Page 66.
Yes. You know, I'm going to have to take that question back with me, and we'll look at it with my team.
And numbers that are in there don't really seem to relate to anything in any of the other columns. So I don't know why I haven't seen this before. And I did go back and look at prior quarter reports, and it's all the same. So
right. I will say, just, you know, we don't have a timeline yet, and I do have two folks on my team who are new this year who started. But one of the things that we've had on our list of goals is to revamp this report because I find it confusing myself. So we'll take your question back, and thank you for pointing it out. And we're looking to make this report clear. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the public on this one?
We have no speakers for this item.
Great. Moving on then to 11, review of the auditor controller's 22-23 fourth quarterly on procurement actions.
Okay, and we are now on page 71. And again, these are procurement actions under the general manager's authority for the fourth quarter. The details are on pages 75 and 76, and I'm happy to answer or take back questions that you have.
Any questions from my colleagues? Not seeing any. Anyone from the public?
No speakers for this item.
Well, thank you very much, Amy, again, for all that work. So before we continue on to item 12 on the agenda, which is closed session, if there are no objections, we would like to accommodate the public and take item 13, public comment now instead of after closed session. Are there any objections to taking public comment now? Not seeing any. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public wishing to address the committee under item 13, public comment?
Yeah, so Mr. Pilpel would like to address us in person, and then after Mr. Pilpel addresses the directors, what I'm going to ask is Justine to pull the line one last time and see if there's any public comments. So go ahead.
Pilpel again. Just a couple of brief topics. On SB 532, the Wiener bill to raise bridge tolls on other bridges, not this one. I noticed two particular provisions as I read that version. One that I think would not allow the district to claim any funds for transit operations to the extent that most of the funding comes from the Golden Gate Bridge. There's some specific language around that, which I think kind of makes sense. But there was also a provision about toll penalty limits, and I didn't have a chance to compare that to the Ting bill from last year and the action that this board took last month, if that would require a further change to the toll penalty limits for the first and the second and $50, all of that. Anyway, I just noticed those two provisions. I think it would be useful to have an update on the Brown Act bills in August or September, the next time GAPI meets. I'm kind of interested in what's happening with them over the summer and where we are with that. I wanted to call to the board's attention bus routing in San Francisco. I actually think that now is a really good time to pursue rerouting from Mission Street to Market Street. Market Street became a transit-only street just prior to the pandemic and only has Muni service with a red transit-only lane. Given the relatively small number of Golden Gate buses that operate on Mission Street now, I think, and Mission Street has become incredibly congested and difficult. I think pursuing with the city and MTA moving from Mission to Market Street, again, would be opportune, would have operation reliability, passenger benefits. Anyway, it's an idea that I wanted to bring up. I hope to expand on some of these ideas in writing. I've been busy, but when I get a chance, you get the idea. And finally, I wanted to thank engineering. I think John Eberly is here today for adding to the last page of the engineering report, the estimated time of completion on capital projects. That's what I was looking for. It's there. Thank you very much.
Right. Appreciate that.
Justine, would you like to pull your line one last time?
Certainly, thank you. Is there anyone that's joined us that would like to speak under public comments this morning? Please use ** to unmute yourself and let me know. I am not hearing anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have no other speakers.
All right. Again, thank you everyone for your patience during our meetings. So we'll be placing the public on hold for the duration of the closed session item. Return after closed session to adjourn the meeting. And our attorney, Kim Manolius, will take us into closed session. Kim?
Thanks, Chair Rabbit. At this time, the Finance Auditing Committee will go into closed session for a discussion about two matters under Government Code Section 54956.9a. The matters are Branka Popovich versus the Golden Gate Bridge Transit District and the Terry Robertson matter.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience while we're in closed session, everyone. Thank you for your continued patience while we're in closed session. I also appreciate you keeping your devices muted.
Second, let me go.
I should report.
Give me 1 second. Let me make sure. Are we good? All right. We're
Kim,
good.
go ahead, please.
The Finance Auditing Committee met in closed session to discuss the two matters as listed on the agenda under 54956.9a and gave its lawyer appropriate guidance as to how to handle the matters. Thank you.
And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? We have a motion and a second, and hearing no objections, we are adjourned. Thank you all.